Yo, you guys are in for a treat in this one. We have my brand new friend Loyola Win on the show. She knows more than most in this industry and drops some tips for a lot of new collectors in the hobby and even some old ones. So without any further ado, hope you enjoy. See you on the flip. I grew up such a fan of sports memorabilia and sports cards, and I'm really excited this show is both going to highlight that as well as the awesome entrepreneurs that make it all possible. Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into another episode of Talking Shop. Today we have my brand new friend, Loyola Win, card collector, card enthusiast, YouTuber. What's going on, my friend?
What's up?
I appreciate you coming in because you're in Thailand right now. So you're calling in. It's 10:30 a.m. here, which means all pretty 9:30, if I'm not mistaken, on your end.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I appreciate you making it work. I want to ask, how did you decide that you were gonna, embark on this sports card? Have you been a sports fan forever? Have you been interested in cards for a while? How did that all begin?
Yeah, so I've always been into basketball for as long as I can remember. Like I love playing it, I love watching it. And then I came across Gary Vee talking about sports cards, and that was pretty much how I got into it.
So at what point did you decide that you wanted to, were you creating content on other stuff before that, or did sports cards spark wanting to be kind of this sports card influencer?
Yeah, it was pretty much just only sports cards. Like I wanted to find a way to connect with other people who are interested into the same passion and stuff. And so yeah, that was how. And so I decided that I wanted to start creating content on questions that I had, and help others out and document my journey as well. Yeah.
That's amazing. What is your journey? What is the goal? What do you want to do? Educate people on kind of sports cards as an investment?
Yeah, both the basketball side of it as well as the entrepreneurial side, the investing side. That's what I'm really into. Yeah.
What's been the biggest lesson that you've learned since starting, whether it be from Gary, or I know you're friends with Talking Shop alumni PSA collector. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned from starting to now in terms of investing in sports cards?
To do my own research, because before that, when I just got started, I would just watch a ton of YouTube videos, and then I would start buying the cards that YouTubers were recommending without doing any prior research to that. Because and then now I realize that pretty much a crowd follows picks up the same cards, because of from that YouTube video. So everything's going up, so you gotta do your own research.
Do you think a lot of these YouTubers are intentionally inflating prices because they own the cards?
No, I guess there are some, but there are also other, genuine people who actually
Totally.
Just share are just interested in just sharing what they're picking up, but then they have a huge audience, right? For
So it kind of
example.
just happens by default.
Right. Yeah. Unintentionally.
Yes, that's great advice for everybody listening. Not it's not that what they're talking about or saying is a good investment isn't a good investment. It's just that if everyone also thinks it's a good investment, it is no longer by default a good investment. What are some of the best tips that you would give people who have no idea how to even do research on sports cards? What does somebody look up? Should they go the same route that you did in watching YouTube videos? Should they be scavenging sold listing prices on eBay and just filling their brain up with numbers? What would you advise people to do?
Yeah. First of all, you can watch YouTube videos. Read articles. I mean, especially Instagram posts and stuff, and Twitter. You can consume a lot of content there. Or listen to podcasts. That's what I'm really into nowadays. And just have an overall understanding first. Do a couple hours of research first before you actually start putting your own money into it.
Totally. What are your favorite podcasts on in the space?
There's one called the High Upside Show. And it talks about like basketball cards and stuff, and I just find like a lot of value from it, like talking about the investing side, because like most people they're just talking about like collecting cards and all that, but like I'm sure that like a lot of people want to actually make this like make some money out of it instead of just like collecting for their, I mean, yeah, wait, this is just getting off topic, but yeah.
No, but you're totally right in that it's like, um, you in investing, you are also by default collecting, and that's what I think is cool about sports cards. In contrast, right before we came on, we were talking about the stock market, where that's just like a digital number. It doesn't matter. Like it's not a physical thing. So it's definitely cool that you get to have that. So there is that collecting aspect to it, regardless of whether you know you're in it just to collect or make money. I want to talk about being a female in the hobby. There aren't that many, which is why you're so awesome. What's you know what does it mean to you, um, being a female in a hobby that has to be 99% male?
um I mean, sometimes it's kind of tough, because like of course it's like mainly like males, in the hobby, and then like you can get a lot of hate just for being a female in this space. But I mean, there's also like, a lot of great people in the hobby who are like open-minded to like females getting into it as well.
The more people, the better. So, like, literally, the card market relies on new people coming into it and spending money. I mean, this is how any market works. But they're like, I just don't understand it. But here's one thing that I will say that I've always believed to be very true. Nobody that's ever doing more than you will ever hate on you. Ever. It's just not like it's physically impossible. They're too worried about what they're doing. You don't have to worry for a second about, anybody, because that just means they don't know what they're doing. They have too much time on their hands. So I don't get that. And they also don't understand how the card market works. Because if they think anybody getting into it is a bad thing, very they're very twisted on how markets work. Beyond you helping educate people, which is such um, a great thing. Now, I want to talk about social media platforms in general. How do you feel about the card? Like, where do you think the card base is strongest between Facebook, Instagram, YouTube? Where are the most collectors spending their time?
um I would say Instagram, actually. Because I know that there are like, Facebook groups and all that, but like nowadays, a lot of people buy cards, from Instagram accounts, including myself, because you get it like, I mean, both the seller and the buyers like avoids those fees, and you can like build credibility there. I mean, I think Instagram is the biggest one right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been interesting. I, for the most part, have always used Facebook, because there are some really, really good Facebook groups, um, to where like you don't like I wouldn't I wouldn't ever want to come off just like because I didn't build my audience in sports cards. I don't want to come off as like trying to profit or like do anything crazy. So I like these Facebook groups because I can do that separately. And I started a card Instagram, so I can do it separately from my real brand. Um, but I think for people that are just beginning, doing both, but checking out these Facebook groups, because some of them have 20,000 people where everybody sees your post if you're trying to sell something. So it's a lot more visibility. And like you mentioned before, no fees, because those numbers add up when you're buying a lot.
For sure.
Um, so I know you have a few cards with you. Um, so I would appreciate if we took a look, and you walked me through kind of your thinking and why each card.
Hold on, let me see. Um, Give me a moment. Okay, we can start with this card, I guess. It's a Luka Doncic PSA 10 mosaic from his rookie card. And I mean, this one was like literally the first card I bought because of like the low pop reports. And that time I didn't really, I mean, that was before I bought this before the mosaic like boxes became really hot. And then I didn't understand like supply and demand back then. I just thought that, all right, this one has a super low pop report compared to his, base Prism rookie card, which has like over 10,000 of them, right? But then like now I picked up like a couple of his. Yeah, and then once I understood more about like supply and demand and stuff, I just picked up like a couple of his base Prism.
Whoa, great. Amazing move.
And this Giannis card as well. I got it for like $300, and the last sale was like $1,000, I believe. 1,000, yeah.
What year is it?
2016, yeah, first year optic.
Nice.
But I kind of just got lucky, honestly. Like I wasn't like, this was like probably the second card I bought, but
You had
like
the first few buys, but it's not like they were random. You were looking at the population reports.
mm-hmm. But like I mostly buy like mid-tier like cards because of like the fees and all that, from the US to here. So it's like almost not worth it for me to like buy like, raw cards, but they're just for collecting more. Yeah. And
You're literally the first person that on the show has mentioned actually looking at population reports before buying cards. We've done 13 episodes now, and you're the first person that's mentioned that. So I think it's super smart. Where do you look for those population reports, on PSA site?
Yeah, psacard.com. I mean, Jason Tatum, his cards are like, I don't know, they've just been like blowing up right now. I got this for like $200 a piece, and that was like 400, I think, which is kind of insane. Amazing. But yeah, more Jason Tatum optic. Hold on. And then I have like Donovan Mitchell, Michael Porter Jr., and yeah, for the most part, I just buy like, base Prism cards because they are like easier to like sell, and there's like a higher demand for it, because like if you like try to look for a numbered card, of a player of a player who's not like super popular yet, for example, like Ja Morant or someone like that, like it's much harder to sell those cards rather than like the base Prism cards. Yeah.
I think it's a great point. And are you mostly, when you sell or think about selling, are you going the Instagram route to do that?
Yeah. I'm gonna sell it like once I go to college next year in the US. Yeah, that's what I'm planning to do.
Makes sense. No, I think that's smart. And yeah, sticking to Prism, although, and obviously you know this very well because you look at the population reports, but how do you feel about them overproducing, certain cards like silvers, where you look at the 2012 population reports on any player's silvers compared to like the Zion? How do you kind of look at that as an investor?
Now it's just like supply and demand. I don't think the pop report actually matters that much if the demand really is there. For example, like, Luka, or like just like I just mostly just look at the demand. Yeah.
So you mentioned first being introduced to the hobby through Gary. Who have been some other people that you've looked at in the card space?
Matt from PSA Collector, Sports Card Investor. I think his stuff is great as well because he's like an entrepreneur, and like I get super inspired just like watching him watching his videos, because like I believe he's like still running his company and doing this on the side, and he has the market mover his tool, his like membership program, and that's like another business, and his YouTube channel, and like yeah, I get super inspired by that.
That's amazing. If somebody if somebody has $1,000 to spend on cards, right? Do you think they should be buying 2 to 10 cards, or should they be going for one?
Tough question. I would go it depends, because like for example, you can buy for around $1,000, you can buy a Kobe, Topps rookie card. And that's more of a long-term play, right? And that will like steadily increase. But you can also take the other route, like buy a ton of base prism cards. So it depends on if you want to like hold into that card or you want to like make a flip. Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. My last question here. What would your number one piece of advice be for our viewers and people who are just getting into the hobby?
Damn, you put me on the spot. Let me see. Number one piece of advice. Okay, so choose a sport that you actually enjoy. Don't just like, for example, personally, I got super tempted to get into soccer and Pokemon cards because it is literally like about to blow up, and they're super hot, but just choose a sport that you actually enjoy, so that when you like do spend those hours doing a ton of research, then it doesn't really feel like work, because you love it.
Totally. I think that's great advice. Now, where can people find you best on social and YouTube?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Loyola Win, NGUYEN. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Once again, thank you for coming in and checking out this episode. If you enjoyed, drop a like. If you really enjoyed, subscribe so you get notified on all of our videos with superstar collectors, basketball talk, and a hell of a lot more. So without any further ado, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next time. Big thank you to Loyola again. Legend. Yeah.